we're going to take a look at 5 stupid Hollywood gun tropes. Now, what we're going to be looking at here are things that when you see them in a movie or a TV show, it just jumps out at you and go, man, that is stupid. Clearly nobody on this show knows anything about firearms. So let's go ahead and go down the list and see what we've got. So I'm going to start with sounds that guns make. Well, guns have like all these different sounds that they make on TV shows and movies. It's like what you hear when someone draws a gun on a TV show. They draw a gun and there's just like click. And if there's like a bunch of people, it's like click, 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 click. But that's really not the case. I mean, let's go ahead and take my carry gun here. Did you hear that? Okay, let's do this again, see if you hear this. Well, yeah, modern guns don't really make a noise when you pull them out of the holster. Now, there are some that might make a little bit of noise. I mean, on the 1911 here, you got this grip safety. And I guess when someone grabs that, you could have a... But that's, not like a big audible click. So what that sound has turned into on movies is it just kind of turned into an audible cue to let people know that someone has drawn a gun. They pull up and you hear a click. Now, why did they start doing this? Now, I've got a theory of where this came from, and it comes from what type of movies used to really dominate Hollywood. Well, that is the Western. Like what superhero movies are right now, that was Westerns, maybe even more than what superhero movies were. So what is going to be the most common handgun to see in a Western? Well, that will be without a doubt the Colt Single Action Army, or a clone of a Single Action Army that I have here. And one thing you have on these is that you can't fire until the hammer is pulled. And so what you would have happen is you would have your cowboy go up there as he's drawing, do that right there. And they're used to that hammer going down, and that kind of became a noise that they would dub into movies all the time. Even when you were drawing something like this, but you would still have that audible click from the revolver whenever you're using a modern firearm. Now, that could still be the case with some firearms. I mean, with like a 1911 here, we can carry it decocked if we, felt like it. So then, when it's decocked, you would draw it and, you'd have that nice big hammer click there. But that's usually not how people carry these a whole lot. It's kind of designed just to have the safety on it right there. And I suppose, you could have a thumb safety. But there are a lot of firearms that don't have safeties on them. You've also got when people shake around modern guns that they rattle and make a lot of noise. Now with an older style firearm like this, like a 1911, most firearms nowadays, it's just not making any noise there. Now, another thing concerning sounds that guns make tend to be something exclusive to revolvers. That's going to be the sound that the cylinder makes when you spin it. Because one thing they like to do with these big, nice revolvers here is they love to, put these out here and spin the cylinders. This makes like no noise, and this is not unusual to this particular model here. This is quite common for these to not make noise when you spin the cylinders. So where did that come from? Well, that's also going to be something kind of going back to the Western days. It was something that made noise on these old single action armies. When you work a gate loader here, since this thing has to actually stop at every spot for you to be able to put it in there, it actually clicks into place. So it will make an audible click every time you turn it. And if you sit here and spin it, and you get this on any of the gate loaders, but on your modern swing open cylinders, it doesn't need to stop in any particular position. You can load it at any orientation there, so you don't have those clicks, and so they don't make the noise. So while we're talking about sounds, let's go and move on to the next thing on the list, which will be silencers. Now, silencer, as what Hollywood would call it, would be something that you can put on the end of a gun and make it quiet. Where instead of going bang, it goes pew, pew, it makes that little noise. Well, first of all, they're not actually called silencers, they're called suppressors. Now, why is that an important distinction? Well, it's because they don't actually silence it, they suppress the sound. It doesn't really change it from sounding like a gunshot, it just knocks a little bit off of the sound of it. For the most part, gunshots are really too loud for you to hear without any type of protection on it, especially repeatedly. And what a suppressor is supposed to do is take it from that range to where this is dangerous for your ears down into it's still loud, but it's okay for you to be exposed to that. It's not going to damage your hearing. Now, I have some numbers here from Silencer Central where they do sell suppressors there. Basically, the 140 decibel line is kind of where it's really anything above that is too dangerous to hear. Below that is where it starts getting safe. But you're looking at for some different calibers here. 9mm out of a pistol being 162. A 223 or 556 out of like an AR is 165, and a 308 is 167. And then something like a 1022 rifle firing 22 is just right at that 140 decibel line there. Well, when you suppress these, it's really knocking about 25 to 30 decibels off of it. You know, that number shouldn't be laughed at there because that is a lot. And also the decibel scale is not just a straight linear scale. It will actually increase pretty drastically as it goes up. But you're looking at that 308 rifle suppressed, instead of being 167, is down to 133. So it's taking about 35, a little under that off. You've got a 223 going from 165 to 132. So that's a good bit quieter, and that puts it below that 140 decibel range, but still pretty loud. Even going into a quieter around like 22 out of a carbine length rifle, which has got the suppressor on it, you're still looking at 111 or 113 decibels. So it's still pretty loud compared to like a BB gun, which is going to be around 97, which, you know, those aren't quiet. There's a pretty good audible, you know, snap coming off of those. And even your best suppressors there on the market on your quietest guns are not going to get anything anywhere near like the sound of even a BB gun. And while Hollywood is full of like all these examples of the suppressor sound being wrong, there is one film that came to mind that actually managed to get it correctly, and it's an older film. It's Dr. No. There's a scene where Bond is using a suppressor on his PPK, and they actually get the sound of it correct.
Why keep up?
It's a Smith & Wesson. And you've had your 6.
That doesn't sound anything like that pew pew nonsense that you always hear on movies. And contrast that scene there with a scene out of a film, John Wick Chapter 2, where you've got John Wick and the other guy like taking little pot shots at each other. Nobody hears those things going off. Oh, people would hear those guns. There's no way they can be that quiet. And the next one on here has to do with ammunition capacity. You will see people pick up a gun and just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot that thing and have way more rounds in it than what could actually ever come out of it, especially when they're like running in like full auto, because you tend to tear through that pretty quickly. One scene that comes to mind, although I think this was done kind of tongue-in-cheek and wasn't supposed to be taken so seriously, it's going to be in Thor Ragnorak, where Scourge has, you know, the 2 M16s, and he's just, you know, around forever with these things, and they just keep going and don't ever end. And like I said, that scene, it's kind of ridiculous and supposed to be over the top, but there's a lot where they're not playing it for laughs or playing it kind of stupid, and it still does that. And another one that really, once you actually start, like if you've ever shot stuff with even a pistol, you will see how ridiculous this one is. And that is the types of things that are bulletproof. You'll see like the guys will come busting in with their rifles, and the other people, they dump over a table and hide behind it. If they're coming at you with any type of rifle caliber, your kitchen table ain't gonna do anything. You're not gonna hide behind a couch and be safe. You can't really hide behind car doors. The only part of the car that really does a very effective job of stopping any type of rounds is going to be the engine block. So, if you get on the other side of the hood, you've got some good protection. But the car door, hiding behind a car door, there's nothing there. That's just, not really thick metal on the outside. Maybe some of the mechanisms in there for the window, maybe the window itself if it's rolled down, and then the other side of it, which is pretty much decorative and nothing on there structural. And you see there's a bunch of channels out there like Demolition Ranch and Paul Harrell that have, through various different means, gone out and shot a bunch of things and show you what ones will actually stop things and what ones are just going to let bullets go through. And it's more stuff will just let the bullets go through than you think. A kind of a side note on this one is how well body armor will work, particularly bulletproof vests. Most of your kind of flexible bodyproof vests that you could wear that kind of look more like clothes, they're pretty good up against pistol rounds, but that's about it. They're really not going to stop a whole lot else on there. And if you get shot by that, you're not going to die, but it's not going to feel good because all that impact from it is going somewhere. It's just, instead of it all going into one tiny little spot, it's just spread out over the entire vest. So you're going to end up with your chest getting beat up, and it's not going to feel good. The scene in Back to the Future where Doc Brown gets gunned down by the Libyans with the AK, that vest that he is wearing is not going to stop the rounds that are coming out of that. And he's definitely not going to be getting up and just like, oh, I feel better now, Marty. I'm glad I was wearing that vest. No, he's just gonna be dead. If you get a message from someone in the future saying, hey, you're going to get shot on this day, take precautions, don't put on a tiny little vest, don't be there when it happens. Come on. And this last one here, I think this one's actually kind of an important one here because it leads people to believe things about firearms that aren't necessarily true. And that is about the type of firearms that you can buy, how easily they can be bought. I'm not talking about buying on the black market there. It's already illegal. You can slap something else on it and now it's just double illegal or something, which, yeah, that's going to make them stop. But just this notion that you can go down the street corner and, just go into a shop and just buy a gun really, really easily, which you generally can, but there's some process involved in it. You don't just go in there, give them some money, and go out the door with it. You've got forms you got to fill out. There's going to be a background check that has to be performed. So if you're some sort of known criminal, you're not going to pass that background check. And I can tell you from friends that I know that have tried to buy firearms that it could be pretty stupid things that can end up getting them flagged on there. Another point on it is going to be just how available full auto weapons are. Now, a lot of people don't know the difference between semi-auto and full auto, and some try to play it off of some minute little detail that's not important, but it's hugely important. Basically, a semi-auto, you pull the trigger, it's going to go bang one time. It's only going that one round off. If you want to fire again, you have to pull the trigger again, versus full auto, where you hold down the trigger and it just keeps spewing out rounds until either you take your finger off the trigger or your ammo runs out. But full auto, there is a lot of other process you have to go through there. There is, in addition to an additional tax stamp you got to buy on it, you've got to go through a bunch of paperwork through ATF and everything, and that takes a long time. We're talking months for that process to go through there, and you can eventually end up with it, but you may be 6 months to a year from the time you decide to buy it to when you can actually take it. I mean, it's just literally the dealer just has to hold on to the thing and wait for you to be able to get cleared to buy it. And so that's my list of the stupid gun tropes from Hollywood. Did I leave anything out on this list that you think needs to be on there? If you think I did, you can leave it down in the comments section for me to see. You can also give this video a thumbs up and a like if you liked it. And if you're interested in more content like this, you can subscribe to my channel to make sure that you catch all the videos that I post and not miss anything. I'm Jeremy with Poindexter G, and we'll see you next time.